Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever it is for you. I hope you've been having a fantastic day so far. Welcome to the Ledgie podcast. I'm going to be your host, DJ, and today we have lucky episode number 5, where we're going to be talking about a topic I've wanted to talk about for pretty much this entire time I've been making this podcast, which is we're currently on our 5th episode, and this is the 2nd episode in one day, which is pretty exciting, and I just have a lot to talk about, and this one might not be super long. Today is going to be about Saddiq Bey, but primarily about how Villanova has produced such great talent and looking at what they have done for their teams and look at their stats in the NBA. And it feels like all these Villanova players fit the same profile with the kind of player they are. They might not all average the same stats, but they all have some similar characteristics. But to begin, I just want to talk about Saddiq Bey. He was traded from the Brooklyn Nets to the Detroit Pistons in a 3-team trade, and he is one of the latest players in a long line of Villanova wings that have successfully made the jump to the NBA. And he's been playing outstanding. He's been a steal for the Detroit Pistons. He's probably been their best rookie so far, and I hate to say that, especially because Killian Hayes is hurt, and I'm getting his jersey in March because I got it for Christmas. Either way, I love Killian Hayes, but Saddiq Bey is going to do. Isaiah Stewart's going to do. Saban Lee even looked good in his debut yesterday night, and I just think that these rookies are all going to be a staple for them. Once Killian comes back, it's going to be a really good group of young players. Looking at Saddiq Bey, he is averaging 10.4 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 0.6 steals, no blocks. He hasn't gotten a block yet in the NBA, but he is shooting 36% and actually shooting 46 from 3. His game high in threes is 6 of 10 yesterday against the Bucks. And that's very promising when you got a rookie coming in being able to shoot right away, because you don't really see that. A lot of these players, you see them have that raw athletic talent, and they can dunk, they can drive, but they can't really do much other than that. They don't have high IQ, they take bad shots, and they can't make their shots. And I think we saw that with a lot of players so far, like LaMelo Ball, Killian Hayes, even Anthony Edwards a little bit had trouble shooting the ball. But this guy's coming in shooting 46%, and it hasn't been bad. I mean, he's been taking really good shots. He's been taking great shots, and I think that his shot does look weird. So if you look up his jump shot, you'll say that is disgusting. But if it works, it works. There's not really anything to change, especially when you're hitting your shot and you're in stride. And I just think his minutes are going to continue to grow. Especially when you have some injuries on the team to Josh Jackson, who's, I think, coming back now, but he might sit. Blake Griffin's probably going to sit a lot. Derrick Rose might sit now that he's like one of only 2 point guards. So he's going to be able to get a lot of opportunity this year. And I really love that the Pistons are giving their rookies opportunity. So they played Saban Lee. They've already played Isaiah Stewart and Saddiq Bey. They've played Killian Hayes. So they've played all of their rookies. And I think in the past, you wouldn't really ever see a rookie. The same thing happened with Dinwiddie and Middleton. I know those were a long distance away from each other, but you have to realize that they just didn't get an opportunity, and then when they got an opportunity somewhere else, they did well. You could have said the same with Brandon Knight, and they didn't give him enough time, and they tried to put him at the shooting guard where that wasn't his position. Then he went to the Bucks and strived, went to the Suns and strived, and I think he had an injury there. Then he went to Cleveland. Now he's back on the Pistons, but I don't think he's actually still on the roster. That's a mess right there with Brandon Knight. I just hope they can treat Killian better, but like I said, it's a whole different management, whole different office. I don't think they're going to be giving up on young guys anymore. But one guy, kind of a little tangent, Jordan Bone went off for the Magic yesterday, so that's another guy they kind of gave up on, quote, quote, too early. But I mean, they're giving the guys that Troy Weaver drafted a chance, like Saban Lee, and that's really awesome to see. Being able to get some minutes right from the get-go and being able to just kind of play early in the rookie season to kind of see what they can do. And I just want to circle back now about Villanova and about some of these players that played there. I'm going to list off some players, and then we'll get into some stats so far of players that actually have been amazing, and I think if Saddiq Bey can have the same trajectory as some of these players so far, he's going to have a long NBA career. There's Ryan Arachediakono, Saddiq Bey himself, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, Kyle Lowry, Eric Pascal, and Omari Spellman. These are players that currently are in the NBA. I don't know if Omari Spellman is. It says he plays for the Knicks, but he hasn't played yet this season. And he was solid for the Warriors and the Timberwolves when he did play. I'd like to see him get another chance. He was drafted in 2018. And a lot of these players that I listed have kind of the same thing. They are all hard workers and are really making the best out of their situation so far in the NBA. Like, you look at a guy like Kyle Lowry, it took him a long time, but his grit and his heart and his determination really helped him become that guy on the Raptors. I know before he was with Memphis, and then he was with, no, he wasn't with Phoenix, but it was the Rockets. Then you look at Josh Hart, a guy in the Lakers who's just a lot of effort, a lot of defense. You look at Dante DiVincenzo, effort, defense. Jalen Brunson on that Mavericks team next to Luka is just a whole ton of effort. I would recommend watching a game of his. And then Mikal Bridges is another guy that comes to mind who's just defense-oriented. He could be that guy to guard the best player on Phoenix's team. And then you also have Saddiq Bey, who is just the NBA-ready shooter. And it seems like they all are coming in with their own thing, when Saddiq Bey's thing so far is size and shooting. And I know we already talked about Saddiq Bey's stats, but looking at Dante DiVincenzo, on his career, is averaging 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.5 steals, 0.2 blocks. So you could say these numbers are pretty similar to Saddiq Bey's so far, outside the 1 assist, but he's also shooting 51% from 3 this year. And I think that is very solid, especially that's what's helping that Bucks team. And I think he was supposed to be a part of that Bogdanovich trade, but that never went through. And I think that's actually the best thing that could have happened to them, because he's providing them defense and passing where Bogdan needs a lot of shots, and where they already have a lot of scorers. They have Giannis, they have Drew Holiday, they have Middleton. I think they even have Bobby Portis off the bench, who's actually playing very well so far. They have Brook Lopez, who needs his shot. So I think they were really lucky to not get that. I know they lost a second-round pick for all of the drama behind it, but either way, he's been a great player for them so far. And looking at Josh Hart's stats, he's definitely a guy that also has a lot of effort. He's averaging 7 points, 8.6 boards, 1.1 assists, 0.9 steal, 0.1 block. And being able to average more rebounds than points as a small forward shooting guard is pretty insane. He's not the most athletic guy out there, but he's also another one of those Villanova guys who came out with that win mentality and team mentality, and he doesn't really care, it looks like, to score, especially when they have Ingram, Zion, Bledsoe, and all those other plethora of scorers on their team. But you just have to realize he is shooting 29%, which is not that great, and if he were to hit more, he'd probably be averaging 10 points. I mean, at least 10 points, probably 13, 14, 15 points if he would be hitting all of his threes, or at least most of his threes. But this is a stat line that you can live with, especially when he's giving all the effort. You look at Kyle Lowry, he is outplaying a lot of people right now, even though the Raptors are losing. He's averaging 19.4 points, 5 rebounds, 7.4 assists, 1.3 steals. He's a guy that might get traded. I've talked about that before, but he's also a very solid player out of Villanova. Eric Pascal's a guy who is actually having a career year so far. I mean, it doesn't really showcase in his stats, but the way he's playing for this Warriors team, helping them at least come close to the Clippers last night and helping them defeat a number of teams, has just been pretty solid, with 11.8 points, 3 rebounds, 1.4 assist, 0.4 steal, 0.2 block, and he's been playing that in limited minutes at 19.4 from last year when he played 26.6 minutes. And I could see those minutes continue to come up. Having a player like Draymond around will really help him. And I know against Portland he was playing that small ball 5 against Enes Kanter and demolishing him. On the defensive end, it wasn't so good. It kind of hurt them. But, I mean, on the offensive end, he was really helping the Warriors. And then last player I want to talk about is Jalen Brunson, averaging 11.7 points, 2.6 rebounds, 3.6 assists, 0.6 steal in 19 minutes. And his career average is 20 minutes, so he's down. I don't know if that's due to injury, but I think also Trey Burke being there, also playing very well, has been something that's not been helping him so much. But these are all just players to keep an eye out on. I mean, these are all great Villanova players. And I mean, I'm from Michigan. I'm a big Michigan State guy, and I wouldn't like to admit it, but Villanova has produced a lot more NBA-ready NBA talent that I can really think of than MSU. I mean, you can think of the Draymond Greens, the JJJ, Jaren Jackson Jr., Miles Bridges, Gary Harris, stuff like that. But these players are actually at another level, and I think it's just different. These players are more heart and energy, where I feel like a lot of those MSU guys are just athleticism and scoring. And these guys, I don't know, just more team-oriented. I could be completely wrong, but that's just kind of how I feel from looking at some of these players' stats and watching them play. It just feels different than MSU. Either way, that's all I have for this episode. Thank you for joining me for episode number 5 on the Ledgie podcast. And I'm your host, DJ. Have a great day. Take some of those minutes from the people that Denver has lost, and I think he could be a really good contributor to them. So definitely keep him on the watch list. If you can afford to pick him up, I mean, I think he's worth it. He's averaging 18.5 points on the season. Next player is a player for the Minnesota Timberwolves, Jared Vanderbilt. He's averaging 15.7 points per game, and he's only rostered in 1.9% of leagues. Last game was his best game of the season. In 23 minutes, he put up 11 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. So he really did everything there. And I think his value will really 100% depend on Karl-Anthony Towns and how long he's going to be out for an injury. I know he had wrist issues, and I don't really know how much longer he's going to be out, but he's only played in a few games this season. So if you need a guy who can fill in that power forward spot for a few games and get you maybe 15 to 25 points, he's definitely a guy to look at. And last but not least, we have Justin Holiday on the Indiana Pacers. And he's been actually pretty solid up to this point, averaging 16.5 fantasy points, and he's the 28th ranked shooting guard, small forward. Past 2 games are his big games. He's been playing a ton of minutes. He's had 24.5 fantasy points. In 32 minutes, he had 20 points, 5 rebounds, 1 steal, which gave him 24.5. And then the game before that, he played 45 minutes, getting 9 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 block for 21.5. This is a guy that's going to be playing a lot of those minutes on this Indiana team. So if you need a guy who can fill in at the shooting guard or small forward position, he's definitely got to look at, because if you're going to be playing that many minutes, you're destined to have some good games here and there. And so these are just kind of some players that I think would be a good idea to look at, some players to buy low. Maybe next time I'll get back into the sell highs, but I think that it's more beneficial to look at some of these waiver wire guys. And this has been a really fun episode. I really like doing all this fantasy stuff. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing it every other day, but it definitely might be something where I do it a couple times a week. So this has been really fun. Thank you for joining me on the Ledgie podcast. I'm your host, DJ. Have a good day.